5 is strictly, right here, GCS. Okay, no X puzzle is needed. What you're going to have to do is look at each term one at a time. So like if I'm looking at this one, I'm just going to write GCF. You don't have to write it. It's up to you. But we look at the numbers first. What's the GCF between the 7? All right. And then we see that we can't use the X because it's only in one term.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means I'm dividing each term. That GCF is going to go in front of the parentheses. And so we're dividing each term by that 7. I probably should have moved this over. Let me move this over. Just so you can see my work. Oops. All right, so if we're dividing this by 7 and the 49 by 7, what does the first term simplify to?
X.
Just X. And then we keep the same operation and 7. And that's our answer. Okay. So if I'm looking at number 3, we have 5a squared minus 15. I want the GCF between the numbers first. Hopefully we see that's 5. And they don't both have an a, so that's what I'm dividing each term by. And then that GCF is outside the parentheses. And then the division of each term is inside the parentheses. So this would just, the 5's here would cancel, leaving us with a squared. And this would be minus 3. Okay. If they don't have the same letter in each term, we cannot take it out as a GCF. So on 5 here, I'm looking for the GCF between 64 and 40. Yes, 8. So I'm dividing each term by 8. The 8's outside the parentheses. So we should have 8 minus, and what are we going to simplify the next term as?
5AB.
Yep, 5AB, yes. Now, when you have a variable common in both, so like if I look at number 7, we have the GCF of just the number 18 and 12. What do you think is the greatest common? 6, yes.
6X.
And then I look, they both have an X.
Squared.
You take out the X squared, yes. Take out the smallest variable between them. So we are dividing each term by 6x squared. When we divide the exponents with the same base, we're just subtracting the exponents. So the 6x squared is in the front of the parentheses, and we're going to do each term. 18 x to the 4th divided by 6x squared. Do your numbers. What's 18 divided by 6?
3.
That's 3. Now we subtract the exponents.
X squared.
X squared. All right. 12x squared divided by 6x squared. Well, the x, that's going to just be minus 2 because the x squares are going to cancel. Okay. So they have to have the same variable in each to take it out, the same letter. I'm just going to jump to 13 here. There's no numbers, okay? GCF. There's no numbers in between, but they have a in common in both terms. So your GCF could just be a letter that they both terms have in common. That's the number that would go, or the term variable will go in front of the parentheses. And we're going to divide each term by that variable a. So a squared, b squared divided by a. We're just going to subtract the exponents on the a. That's going to leave me with 1a, but still b squared. Then plus a divided by a will turn into 1. So on 15, GCF of 5xy plus 3x squared y squared. 15x and y. Yep. They have a 15 in common with the number, an x and a y with the variable. I'm dividing each term by that 15xy. So that 15xy has to be outside the parentheses, and then we're just simplifying each term. This would cancel to just 1. Plus, then 30xy squared, x squared y squared, divided by 15. Well, the numbers, that would be 2, and this would be just left with xy. Okay. The last section here, now you got 3 terms. So I'm just gonna jump to 21. I'm looking for the GCF with the numbers still. So I have the coefficients, 10, minus 2, or 10, 2, and 14.
2xy.
It would be 2, yep, and then the variables, oops, sorry. X, yeah, the smallest would be xy. So 2xy is in front of the parentheses. We're dividing each term by 2xy. All right, so the first term, this would be 5x squared, because we're subtracting the exponents, y. The 2's cancel, the x cancels, you're left with just y here. Then plus 7, and the xy's cancel. Okay? So the front page here is just GCFs, okay, and dividing each term by that GCF. If you flip it over to the other side, now we're doing trinomials. So now you want to do your X puzzle, okay? Remember, the C goes on the top and the B goes on the bottom. Now, I'm not saying you need to do, like, physically draw your puzzle every time. It's just a tool to help you. But if you're good with your mental math, your math facts, like your multiplication tables, then you can just come up with the factors. Like I'm saying here, if I was to set this up, 6 would be on top, 5 would be at the bottom. What are the factors of 6 that have a sum? So if you just already saw that mentally, you didn't need to write it out, then you could just go write x plus 3, x plus 2, and you're done. Like if you are good at seeing the factors with the numbers, or seeing mentally listing them and finding their sums, then I'm not saying I have to see the puzzle. So like on 3, when I set this up, 56 is at the top and 18 is at the bottom. So I want factors of 56 that would have a sum of 18. If you have that orange paper, you can just go straight to 56 and look at all those numbers that are the factors.
Wait, what orange paper?
I gave you an orange paper on Friday. Like Jacob has it over there. Nick has the orange paper that has the factors 1 to 100 on them. Anyone come up with the factors for 56? Huh? Yeah, 4 and 14. So m plus 4, m plus 14. Factors of 8 with the sum of 9. Just 1 and 8. So this would be y plus 1 and y plus 8. Now, it's when you start getting negative products that you have to pay attention to your sign. So if I go straight to 11, we have a negative 70. We want it to have factors of a negative 70 that have a sum of 3. Okay. So if you have the orange paper, you could just go to, like, all the factors that are listed on the orange paper are positive. So if you're using the same numbers, it's just one of them's gonna have to be negative now.
So wait, do you have an extra orange paper? May I have one?
Huh? -7 and +10, yes. If whenever time it's negative, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. So this would be x -7, x plus 10. Now, if they're negative, like I'm gonna go to 15 now. When I make my x puzzle, I got a -39. So if the product is negative and the sum is negative, you have to pay attention to which number can be the negative. It's usually the higher number. But you're still going to end up having one is negative and one is positive. That's the only way you can get a negative product. So on a problem like this, all I need to do is look at 39, factors of 39. I think there's only like 2 steps. So if you're on the orange paper, just find 39 and then look at the list of numbers that make 39. It'll be a -13 and a +3, yes. Whenever we're making a negative, we need to find the difference between the two to find the middle number. So this would be x -13, x plus 3. Now this last set here, 19 to 24, it says right here, look for GCF first. So that's why that first side of the paper is important. So I look, what's the GCF between 2, 8, and 90? What's the GCF between 2, 8, and 90? No, this one doesn't have a K, so it's just 2, yeah. Okay, so that means first we're gonna take out the 2, and this is gonna leave me what, K squared minus 4K minus 45. So now I'm factoring that trinomial. I'm looking for the factors of a -45 with the sum of -4. So what numbers give us 45?
The -9.
Yeah, -9 and a +5. So you keep the 2 on the outside, guys. You're going to keep the 2 there. And then it's just going to be K minus 9 and K plus 5. So the GCF has to still stay in front of the parentheses. So like on 21, I'm looking at 4, 52, and 120. What's the GCF? It's usually the smallest number, guys.
GCF 4.
Yes. 4 can go, so the 4 goes outside. You're left with, I probably need to move this up a little bit, sorry. 4 parentheses, W squared, what's 52 divided by 4, excuse me. Hmm? 13W minus 30. So now we're trying to factor the -30 with the sum of a -13. Not -10. -15 and 2, yes. All right, so the fourth state that remains on the outside of parentheses, this would be -15, W minus 15, and W plus 2. All right, so this is what you're gonna finish and turn in. Keep your flip book, the blue flip book. You keep that for reference. We'll finish that tomorrow. We'll finish another tab tomorrow. And then
Will we have time to work on this?
Yeah, you'll have time to work on this tomorrow. This is the worksheet's due tomorrow before you leave class.